Hello, MAB Elementary. It's Mr. T. Bring your math brains to the table, paper and pencil, because we're going to do some decimal fraction work. In fact, this is decimal fraction 13, so we're getting up there in terms of our complexity. You may recall the last time we met on decimal fractions, we talked about doing the addition function with decimal fractions. And you remember the most important thing about setting up your decimal fraction problems is to make sure you do it vertically. So if you have 9/10 plus 3/10 equal, and you see it as a horizontal equation or number sentence like this, that's not how you set it up to solve it. To find the sum, what you do is you make it vertical. 9/10 plus 3/10 equals, and I'll show you. Now you see how the decimals are lined up vertically? The decimal always has to be lined up vertically so that you make sure you get your place values in the right order, okay? So 9/10 and 3/10 is 12/10. That's 2 in the tenths place, and 10/10 has to be exchanged for 1 whole. So your answer in addition with decimal fractions is 9/10 plus 3/10 is 1 and 2/10. Well, it'll come as no great surprise to you that if you can do addition math with decimal fractions, that you can do subtraction math with decimal fractions, just like you could do subtraction with whole numbers. All right, so let's look at your worksheet. It's going to be the 13 worksheet. So, first of all, let's go back and kind of review. If I had 5/10, take away 4/10, could I do that? Sure, I could. Equals 1/10. Now remember, 5/10 could be expressed as a decimal fraction, 5/10 minus decimal 4/10 equals, but I just told you, if you see a decimal fraction problem expressed in a horizontal form, don't do it. Re-express it as a vertical subtraction. Watch me. Five tenths, subtract 4/10. See the vertical alignment of the decimal points? Critical. Otherwise, your place values would be out of place. And of course, the answer is the same. 5/4 take away, 5/10 take away 4/10, 1/10. Give you a couple more, and then I'll post the worksheet and the control sheet, and you guys are on your own, because I know you can do it. Do your best, and then check your work, all right? So, let's look at a couple of these. How about this one? 67 hundredths take away 36 hundredths equals. So the equivalent of that, of course, is 67 hundredths as a decimal, take away 36 hundredths as a decimal. All the same, number fractions, decimal fractions. But I told you, remember, do not try and do a decimal fraction as a horizontal problem. Make it vertical. Line up those decimals, and you'll see 67 hundredths, take away 36 hundredths, gives me 31 hundredths. Decimal subtraction. And as always, with our worksheets, they get more complicated. The problems do as you go down the sheet, and so it works your brain harder and harder. Well, that's why we do math. Practice to see if we can figure out more complex mathematical calculations and to make mistakes. Because if you make a mistake, then when you go back and you check it with your control sheet, you say, aha, now I know how to do that function, right? Remember, mistakes are how we learn. Really important. We love mistakes. All right, so let's look at one down here. How about 17 and 4/10 take away 3 and 7/10? This is going to be tricky. First off, it's horizontal, so we got to set it up vertical. 17 and 4/10 take away 3 and 7/10. I jumped to a complicated one for you, but you can do it. So let's look at this. 17 and 4/10 take away 3 and 7/10. Can I take 7/10 away from 4/10? I cannot. Where can I get some tenths from? Well, I can come to this hole right here. That's 7 holes. That'll leave me 6 holes if I want to take one of them. And I take that one hole, and one hole is the equivalent of 10/10, isn't it? So now I've got 14/10 temporarily in the tenths place. Can I take 7/10 away from 14/10? Of course I can. And that gives me 7/10. Look at that decimal coming down vertical. Gotta have it. Now I have 6 holes in the unit place, 3 holes in the unit place. 6 units, take away 3 units is 3 units. And that 1/10 in the whole numbers in the 10th place, not taking anything away from that, so it comes straight on down, doesn't it? So the difference between 17 and 4/10, take away 3 and 7/10, the difference, my answer is 13 7/10. Much of that you see is familiar. It's the kind of work we did with subtraction of whole numbers. It's just like the work we did with subtraction of number fractions. And now we're doing it with decimal fractions. Well, that's Mr. T. Good luck with your work. Make that brain strong.